All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good whatever time it is, whatever you are. Welcome to another podcast. Hello. And today's topic, it kind of relates to the last one, so I might repeat some things from the last episode. But I promise it's also really interesting. So today's topic, we're gonna talk about graphics and GPUs. Since the poll I made, I got votes for both gaming and technology. So, well, one thing is related to the other. Let me change the background and bam. Where is it? Where's my... oh, whoops. There you go. I picked the wrong one. There you go. All right. Is the music too loud? Just wondering. In the meantime, let me just... There we go. Alright. So, to start off with the topic of graphics. Just a little bit, okay. You can just... There you go. This should be a little bit better. Yeah, because this song itself is kind of loud. There you go. Alright. So, starting off with the graphics topic. I can do a connection with the last podcast, like I mentioned. Saying that, well, first of all, my first console ever was a Master System, which was pretty popular over here where I live, and also in Europe. So, and that system happens to be 8-bits. But we did have consoles and other gaming devices or video devices per se that had even more how can I say it, even more like I can't find the exact word. Like worse. I don't want to say worse because it sounds kind of rude, but that was what was available back then. So very primitive, rudimentary graphics. So pretty much like a handful of pixels on the screen, or like how small was like the Atari Odyssey screens? I think it was like, I want to say 120 by 120, like the screen size. That's pretty small. That's like the size of today's like emotes or GIFs or GIFs. I don't want to cause the spelling wars over here. So like the graphics back then, back in like the 70s, was pretty basic. You know, especially back then, I remember my dad talking to me like, just say shit. Nah, like I said, it's not shit. It was just what was available back then. So I couldn't say it's like, come on. It's like people nowadays, I don't know, complaining about, oh, 720, like HD graphics is just crap. Like, bro, people back then, like your parents, if they ever, you know, had any sort of technological device, even TV, let's say, it wasn't that great. So why are you complaining about? I know it's just a generation thing as well, but like, for me, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm closer to like technological stuff since I was a kid. So for me, it just fascinates me whenever I see. Nah, not a boomer. I'm only 25. Okay. But like, yeah. Let's not skip the content. Let's skip by. Let's talk by parts. So like graphics back then were pretty basic. Like I remember my dad talking about the games he used to see like on those boxes. The box art was amazing. Like I think all the budget went to the to the artwork, and then the actual game is just wait, what the fuck? Why is this just a wait? I didn't buy this. You know, like let's say you buy a space game like those spaceship. It was omega popular back in the day. The space shooters. You see the box like, whoa, what the hell? Like those crazy spaceships all around and exploding asteroids, and then shit, I'm gonna buy this. And then when you got home, like plug in the cartridge and like, wait, what? You know? Where's that game? I want that, not this bullshit. Like, so even back then, people used to think the graphics were shit, but that's what they had back then. It is what it is. So you kind of have to use your imagination, I suppose, to play the game the way you expect it to play. And then, yeah, after that age of like Odyssey, Atari, ColecoVision, a handful of other early 8-bit games of the era, comes the 80s with like the huge company Nintendo, the big N, releasing Super Mario Brothers. And that was like the most technical advancement for the gaming era. Because yes, both like Atari and Nintendo consoles were 8 bits, but the consoles from like the 70s had lower display, like lower resolution. There you go. That's the word I was trying to think of. Lower resolution to begin. Yeah, I think 120 by 120, I'm exaggerating a lot. I don't know like the specifics, so I shouldn't say it. But like with the NES, now you got better resolution, better color palettes, better. Well, if you want to talk in a more technical side of it, the whole system itself was way better, despite the obvious thing. But it is just fascinating to see that, like what? I think the board might be the size of a keyboard or something like that. So like such a small thing, so powerful, delivering those pretty graphics. Some of the older games hold up to this day. So like, not trying to be like nostalgic or anything, because I didn't own a NES myself. Like I said, I had a Master System. But even the Master System have some solid games that like hold up to this day, stood the test of time. Especially since back then the arcades were the thing. The arcade systems, even if they were like 8-bit, 16-bit, doesn't matter. They were way superior than home consoles. So like the whole premise of the video game consoles at home was to bring that same experience, or at least try to bring that arcade experience to your house. So no coins. You don't have credits. Like, yeah, some games do have like credits, quote unquote, but they work more like the continue system as we got to know later on, like especially in the 90s. So no credits. You don't have to pay anyone other than like buying the console and the game. What else? You can play whenever, again. Just turn on the console, play it, there you go. But for a handful of games, it wasn't really like that one-to-one conversion. Because again, arcades were way more powerful. They had a bunch of like RAM to work. I don't want to say CPUs. Not sure, again, technicalities, but probably a way more powerful CPU, and also the graphics, like the video RAM available for those were way superior. So for me, one of the arcade examples I can give that was pretty faithful, at least for me, is it Goals and Ghosts? I think that's the one. Ghosts and Goals for like the Genesis. Let me check. Goals and Ghosts. Yeah, that one. The Mega Drive / Genesis, whatever the region you are, that version is pretty faithful to the arcade one. So we did have games that were both like gameplay and graphic one-to-one. Well, at least 1 to, I don't know, 0.90, I guess. But it was pretty close to the arcade versions. Another one like Captain Commando. Amazing game as well. I could say a lot of examples, but I think we got better conversions during the 16-bit era. Because, again, powerful consoles. More powerful, sorry. And arcades on that period, on that decade, started to, I'm not gonna say die, but started to decline. Because the home consoles were starting to get so powerful and having so many different amazing games that you didn't have on the arcade, for example. Like you had Super Mario World, you had Sonic, you had Donkey Kong, you had Zelda, Metroid, Kirby. Phantasy Star is one of my favorites as well, so even the RPGs. I don't think there's RPGs for arcades? Yeah, there are. Never mind. So like as we enter the 90s, we start to get way more powerful consoles. And during that era, the companies were starting to try to come up with like 3D more often. I think on the 80s, I can't really recall the name, but it's like a tank game. like a tank simulator or something like that, that it tries to like simulate a 3D 3D graphics. I'm trying to remember. If I do, I'll just say the name. But like back then, you already had companies trying it. I think it was probably on the Atari or some other console. So then again, in the 90s, you had like the Mode 7, the Super FX chip on the SNES. I appreciate it. You had the Super FX, like I mentioned just now. For the Genesis, I don't recall, because unfortunately I never had a like a actual physical Genesis. One of my friends had it like way back in the day, but I never had it myself. Yes, it's Zencast. Hello, hello. So I'm not sure of the Genesis what they had for like the 3D processing, the blast processing. And the only example I can really remember is Vectorman, which is kind of the attempt to match Donkey Kong. I'm not sure if they fared really well because Donkey Kong, not Donkey Kongy, what the hell? DKC, there you go. Donkey Kong Country was an amazing game, still is. And the whole process of like getting a physical, like, I don't remember if it's clay model, but like a physical model, and then transferring that to a computer and then turning into sprites. Whenever you see the whole process of it, it's just insane. Like, how? I know today you have so many different 3D engines and frameworks, but they had to use a freaking $1 million machine just to get sprites for a game. That whole process was so expensive back then. I think it's the STI. That's the name of the either of the machine or of the company. Sprites are cute. Yeah, you have so many different sprites from that era, especially like the pixel art, which some people still use to this day, mostly because of like nostalgia and because I think it works. Like pixel art, it is just really good. TFT sprites. Yeah, we're gonna get to the more modern graphics as well. So for me, I think one of the... Oh yeah, I have my own personal example. Yeah, there you go. Sonic 3D Blast. Yes. That was Sega's attempt to like 3D, quote unquote, because the name is deceptive. The game is not really 3D, it's 2.5D, which is isometric perspective. You see like on the diagonal view. So that was my own experience with like 3D for the first time. I was like, what? Wait, is this the same character? Bear in mind, my first Sonic game was an 8-bit game. It wasn't really like the OG Sonic, like the 16-bit one from the Mega Drive. It was the Master System one. So when I saw, like, I was like, shocked. Like, no way this is the same character. Like, what the hell? And yeah, it was. So that's my personal experience with like being amazed by by graphics. So let's see. Moving on, my personal next experience was the PlayStation. Yes, PlayStation 1. I'm not sure if the what is it, 64, I think. Yeah, 64-bit gen was really 30, is it 32 or 64? I always mistake the numbers, but yeah, either one of those. Like late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not sure if those games held, you know, that much, because they're more polygonal. Oh, shit. I hit my elbow on the table. Whoops. Anyway. Because they were more like polygon, based on polygons, not really pixels. That's the thing about 3D games. The early days of 3D gaming, I think some games are really held by their gameplay, mostly. If you say graphics, depending on the game, yeah, sure, I can believe you. But most of them are so bad. Like, don't get me wrong, there's like, I don't know, Mario 64, there's Tomb Raider, one of my favorites from the PS1. If we're talking about the characters, might be a hot take. I'll admit. But like, for some of those games, the backgrounds and everything held up really well. But the characters, I wouldn't say so. Again, might be a hot take, but I'll stand by my point, yeah. But still, early days, it's okay. Everyone is trying out the new technology. Everyone's trying to figure out how to do it, what to do with it. So, of course, most games didn't, you know, hold well with the 10, 20 years. It's kind of unfair to say that, oh, this is just shit. Like, I don't know. Says the guy who just said that the characters didn't hold up well. But I'm trying to think of one game that for the graphics side, I don't really have a favorite, I want to say, especially because I didn't play much. I did have a PS1, but I didn't play much of the... I had more time into like PC. Yeah, I grew up with PC. And even that, like, when I see games like Half-Life, for example, I think the gameplay holds the game more than the graphics. Especially nowadays with like remakes and all that shit. If you play that game for the graphics stance, I don't know, man. I don't know. But the gameplay is really good. So for that era, early 2000s, I would say mostly the gameplay and less really the graphics. But hey, again, when people saw their favorite franchise or like new franchises in 3D, like, whoa, what the hell? Like, mind blown. I think one game that held well was Crash Bandicoot. Call me crazy, but like, I think it's because the character itself, he's just like weird, crazy, and cartoonish, so it works. Like when you try more human, you know, actual humans into 3D back then, it was yeah, okay. I think I gotta good example to save. Let's see, and now we go to like mid 2000s, going with the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, you know, those consoles. And on that era, I think the game started to get way better. Like, one of the games I can think of that has pretty graphics to this day is like Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Is it Twilight Princess? Yeah, on the GameCube. Yeah, I think that's the one. The game is so pretty. I haven't finished myself. I think I got past halfway through the game, but again, we're talking graphics, so that game, it's so well made. So the backgrounds, the characters themselves, like, is the same. Polygons, not the same amount, but like still polygonal based character. But now you have more powerful systems. You have advancement on the technology itself. You have advancement with the people behind the technology as well. So like, people are way more trained. They know how to use the tools better. So you went from like those weird polygonals, triangles sticking out and all that shit, to way smoother, you know. They start to look less pointy, I want to say. Because, or blocky, I guess. You can either have a triangle or a square for body parts. And now the polygons, you start to add more and more and more, so the final image starts to get more smooth, more rounded, and no more of those blocky ass characters. For me personally, I played more on the PS2. So I had games like God of War 2. I had what is that other one I used to play so much? What's the name again? Anyway, I'm not gonna remember now. It's been so long since I last touched my PS2. I don't think it's even working. Yeah, I ended up trading my PS2 for a GameCube, so I remember more those games now. So you had God of War 2, you had Mario Sunshine, you had I want to say Halo, but was Halo really on the same era? I'm just trying to remember. Well, not the OG one probably, but like later versions. But yeah, the games themselves don't matter as much because we're talking about the graphics. So that's really the advancement over there. For the PC, which again was my main system back then, you had like Half-Life 2. That game, I swear to God, like, it's been almost 20 years since Half-Life 2 came out. That game still holds up so freaking well. Like, Source Engine, I know it's hella old at this point, but my goodness, what they made with that game is just insanity. If you played, like, not you played, like, sorry, if you got someone who never touched any Valve games, like no Half-Life, no Counter-Strike, whatever, and told them, okay, play this game, Half-Life 2, and tell me what do you think about the graphics? Like, try to guess the year this game came out. Unless you're really smart and knows about maybe the company, or like you know a little bit about the graphics and stuff. I would guess at least someone would say probably 2010 at least. Which is somewhat accurate because the last episode, it was released like on the mid to late 2000s. So that guess wouldn't be that wrong as well. If anyone said anything earlier than that, one, they're either trolling or they're like too young or something. I don't know. So my best example, yeah, I think both Zelda and Half-Life 2 are my favorite examples of that era. Because to this day, you can still play that game, like enjoy the gameplay itself and the graphics, which is what games should be. Both graphically and on the gameplay, they should be the best possible. I'm not gonna say perfect because there's no perfect game. If you say a game is perfect, it's either, again, nostalgia, or you're just being a fanboy or something. There's no perfect game. Even for my favorites, like Sonic 1, the game is not perfect. Of course, it's hella old as well. Chrono Trigger, another favorite game of mine. There's some flaws here and there. I'm not gonna say as well, oh, it's a perfect game. Yes, it is one of the best games ever. I'm not the one saying it. So, like, even those games will have some of their flaws. Like, especially back then. With Source, you had the loading screens and lagging your PC, you thinking that, oh, my PC died or something. No, it's just the game loading. Loading a big chunk of a map for you to play. So, like, moving on from that era, we enter now. Now is the era I didn't really play many games because I was too poor for it. the I only had PC, and my PC wasn't really that strong, that powerful. I had like my mom's laptop, so it was a integrated graphics laptop. So yeah, you can imagine how it was to play on that warrior of a laptop. I'm never gonna say anything bad about it because that shit carried me for like 7 years. Yeah. And it's also funny to like jump from something so, weak, especially for the games I wanted to play or like forced myself to run on that machine. Because yeah, I tried so many things. Poor laptop. I tried so many things to like maximize FPS, and like I was coping so hard. But then again, that was the only thing I had, so is it really coping? I don't know. I remember one of the games I tried to play back then. It's like Astroneer. And on my old laptop, I call it mine because eventually it ended up being mine. On my old laptop, that game used to run at like 15 FPS. And now multiplayer, it dropped to 10. Hell yeah. Yes, I played multiplayer on that thing at 10 FPS. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how, but I did it. the good thing is that I've made a friend, and we still play it, the same game every so often. Like almost 10 years ago, I met that guy, so it's been a while, and we still play the game. I was like in high school, and yeah. Maybe the graphics is the friends we've made along. uh, and now, but jokes aside, it was really good to make this jump from a integrated graphics, and I know this is the reality for so many people. So I don't want to like brag about it, like, oh, you peasants. No, I was there too. I still kind of am in a way, but I have to admit as well, I'm in a place way better than I used to be. Especially when I see people playing newer, quote unquote, with many quotes, newer games like League, like Fortnite, like those competitive games. They have to have a lower entry level on the graphical side because they want public, they want players. So it makes sense. Sometimes people go, oh, this game looks like shit. And even nowadays, like League was released, what, 20, not 20, 2010, 2009, like early, not early, yeah, 2009. Yeah, there you go. I was gonna say early 2010s. I mean, compared to what it was, though, yikes. Yeah, don't look up League, old League, please. It's atrociously bad. Oh my god. And the thing is, there's some champions that they still look like... No, it's not even old splash arts. There's some champions that still look like 2009. Like Shogath, Kog'Maw. There's so many... Especially the Void ones. They look horrible. Maybe it's to add to the whole monster theme. I doubt it. It's just laziness, but hey, that's me. That's just me. Anyway, those things aside, they have to have this low entry because of that public. So people with like those integrated graphics or like low tier GPUs can play those games, and sometimes that's all they have. So in a way, even with all those graphic advancements, all the polygons and the shit I talked about, you still have to have low entry GPUs or graphics, whatever, games, or like whatever software, for people who don't have... Of course, this plays into the company's interest, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But in a way, I'm glad that we have options for people like I was back then, for people who still are in a bad situation with like PCs, or some people don't even have PCs, they only have phones. And nowadays, some phones are insanely good. So like, I have a friend, the one that made my OC. If I recall correctly, she made it on her phone. So like, for me, it's insane. Like, I would never imagine someone painting or like doing drawings on their phone. Like, I use my phone mostly for, I don't know, listening to music, playing a game here and there, and watching videos. So like, when I heard, oh yeah, I did this on my phone, like, huh? Excuse me? What? So like, the graphics advancement, it's on our hands 24/7 pretty much. we went all the way from like those pixels on the screen that the art box was insanely better than the actual game to something that it's on the palm of your hand. So like, and only the future knows what's gonna happen next. And nowadays we have ray tracing, we have VR, we have I don't even know. There's so many different things. You have upscaling, you have 8K. Like, bro, I don't even have a 4K screen. And people are talking about 8K already. I don't have 1K. Oh, well, technically, you could say I do have 1K because, well, anyway. Because 2K is 2,000. Never mind. God damn it. So, like, for me, it's just crazy. Like, seriously. Yeah. Technically, we do have 1K, so yeah. Hello. Welcome to the podcast. So, like, it's just insane to me. And every time I see anything new with, like, GPUs, and, oh, this is the latest thing on, like, upscaling and all this stuff, I just feel genuinely happy to see, like, man, what I had, and not, again, I'm not that old, I'm just on my 20s, and it already baffles me. Imagine to, like, my dad, for example, who's, like, almost 50 years old. He's young, too, but, like, he already saw way more things than I have. And sometimes I talk to him about those things, like, hey, Dad, like, NVIDIA released this shit, like, DLSS, and it's like, some things it doesn't completely understand, but it's still, like, something interesting to both of us, because especially when he saw like how happy I was when I bought my first PC, which is, well, this one I'm currently using. So, like, what I used to play back then, and he used to mock me, like, hey, now you don't have to, like, play your games with, like, 10 FPS and shit. But yeah, that's the, even if it's, for some people it's probably like a small jump or something, for me it was a massive leap. For what I had compared to now, this is heaven. So for the future, I'm not sure what's gonna happen next, because, again, like I said, I barely have 1K, and I don't know, maybe in like 5 years time we're gonna have 16K or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's probably gonna happen. Like, come on, technology advances like so fast. Even with the pandemic and all, like, slowing down the development of not only technology but of so many things. But I believe next year, or probably like the other, most likely we're gonna recover from this, hopefully. But yeah, for the future, I don't know. I'm still trying to reach my future is trying to reach the present. So my next goal was to get a either, I don't know, something with a 30 series, 40, unless I get some crazy money out of nowhere. I don't know. But yeah, if you have a 30 series, you're good to go. Trust me. That shit is gonna carry you for so long. Especially with the all things I've mentioned. The LSS and the whole upscaling thing. That already carries you so hard. And there's also the before I finish, there's also the options in case you happen to have either like a NVIDIA or AMD GPU. As long as it's not integrated, I think. Well, there's no integrated NVIDIA, but like anything but integrated graphics, I believe either with an external monitor or in my case, because I have a laptop, but if you have a desktop, you know, or happen to have a another monitor with either your laptop, whatever it is, you also have access to an upscaling alternative. Both FSR for AMD and NIS for NVIDIA, you can use that right now. Yes, that's right. You do have upscaling access, well, sort of. The only thing I'm not completely sure is that if it has what is it called, restriction on like, oh, maybe it's from a certain GPU up until, you know, that's the only thing I'm not sure. But if you happen to have that, please check it out. That maybe it can help you out if you have an older GPU. Can help you out to boost your FPS in your games or whatever type of content you're trying to consume. But yeah, a bit shorter today, like only like 15 minutes. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was pretty interesting to like remember all those games and like all those advancements we've had so far. It's pretty good to look back and see, wow, we've came so far after having blocks on the screen to have beautiful things like this background I have over here. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for me for today, and the video is going to YouTube at 6 p.m. my time, which is roughly 3 hours from now. So yeah, thanks so much for passing by, and for those who are still here, thanks for the support. And if you're watching on YouTube, I hope you guys have a amazing weekend, rest of your week. And in case you didn't watch the last episode, please do check it out. I'm gonna create a playlist so everything gets organized. And yeah, enjoy the music, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.